We welcome to the podcast Claire Young. How's it going?
I'm great, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me and asking me on.
No problem. You was runner-up in The Apprentice back in 2008. What are your memories of the show and how was the process?
Oh gosh, 2008 in lots of ways it feels like a lifetime ago. But when I sit down and watch The Apprentice, which I do, and I hear the music, it's almost like it was yesterday. It was the most amazing experience, and I was actually talking about it a couple of days ago. I think in life when you have huge chapters, so for me it was like school, university, work, The Apprentice, children. It was a life-changing experience for me.
And you still watch the show today, is that right?
I still watch the show because I suppose I've got, a great. It's for me, The Apprentice. It's a bit like bumping into my old best friend because it was such a fantastic experience that I do watch the show. I wouldn't say religiously every single week. It's on catch up. I'll pop it on and have a cup of tea. There was a candidate this year, Andrea Cooper, who is from the same area as me in Yorkshire, so we have met. So I had a bit of a vested interest to watch it, but also for my business, which I started after The Apprentice, which is putting speakers into schools. I often watch the show thinking, is there anybody I can recruit from the show who I think would be good to go and speak to students?
Oh, great. In the first task, you and your team were attempting to sell £600 worth of fish. What are your memories from the first task?
The first task is chaotic because we started filming from memory. It was about 3:30 in the morning. We got a phone call to say you're going in, and up until that point, you'd always gone into the house and met the other candidates. But on for our series, they put us into the boardroom and said, and that was our first task. One of you won't unpack your bags. You'll be fired tonight. So if you stick your neck on the line and you've quit your job and you're going into The Apprentice to be told that you're not even going to unpack your bags. So they usually do girls versus boys, which they did again. And I was the only person to put the hand up to be project manager, and we won. I can remember sort of at one point thinking, what have I done? Because it is so chaotic. I always try and explain to people that if somebody walked into a room and split you into two teams, you probably sensible people would get on with it. But you've got to think who they recruit for the show are very strong personalities. Everybody's confident. Everybody's an egomaniac to a certain extent. Everybody wants to lead, but they don't really want to lead, but they've got an opinion. And you throw in loads of cameras. The adrenaline is just crazy. So even a simple task like selling fish on a market can go out of control.
And as you say, it's so many different personalities, isn't it? And you haven't even met really.
I think in reality TV, after taking part in reality TV, and so much of our TV genre nowadays is reality TV, it is a little bit like a pantomime. They have a storyline to a certain extent, and they've got the characters. Reality TV only works if you engage with the characters, whether you like them, loathe them, have an opinion about them. If reality TV is boring, you don't connect to it, you don't tune in. It's why things such as, in my opinion, like Love Island have become so boring because the candidates are so boring. They haven't got anything to say, so there's no hook to the show. But that's why you get great TV on The Apprentice because it's strong characters and they basically don't let you sleep very much and put you on TV.
Yeah. And in the second task, you operated a laundry service. That looks surprisingly difficult.
The laundry, I would have, because I love running a laundry at my house. I like things to be organised, process driven, and I wasn't project manager for the next task. I sort of stepped back, but looking back, I wish I had been project manager because there was no system and we lost. It was a really good task, but it was hot. I remember the laundry was boiling hot, and we worked all night. I can remember I kicked off my high heels and put on a pair of slippers, which somebody kindly gave to me.
And
One of the ladies in the laundrette.
is this the one where the boys steal the irons, or is this in another series? I'm just trying to remember now.
Yeah, I don't think they did. I
Maybe that
can
was in
just,
another
yeah, I
series.
mean, it was a car crash task because I can remember that all the items got mixed up and different people got
Oh,
different
yes.
shirts back. And with The Apprentice, you have got to keep things simple and you've got to have a process. and you've got to listen and you've got to work together as a team. But the early stages where there's loads of people and lots of adrenaline, people don't bother to read the task properly. They're all sort of darting off, almost a bit like if you have a panic moment at home where you maybe might have lost your wallet or car keys, and that awful sort of that's what it's like being on The Apprentice in those early on tasks, because people don't tend to be very logical when there's so many emotions and adrenaline running through.
Yeah, and there's so many people to begin with, like you say. Does it get a bit easier when there's less people?
Absolutely. It sounds awful, but once some people have been gone the dead wood, that's awful. But it's true. Once you get down, say, I think maybe we had 16 candidates, the final eight. It was, I mean, every day I was working with really brilliant people who were funny. I think my producer got a BAFTA for our series of The Apprentice because it was so good and funny. But it was a joy working with those people because we all had very similar qualities, I suppose. We all wanted to do well, we all were competitive, and everybody had a good sense of humour. It definitely gets easier as there's less people in the system.
And what was it like living in the house? Because obviously you don't know these people and you're just all thrown in together, aren't you?
I think that's the hardest thing about being on The Apprentice. Well, there's lots of hard things about being on The Apprentice, but you are away from your sort of comfort blanket of home. You've got no mobile phone, no independence. You can't Google. You haven't got your little black book of contacts. There's so many people who are very confident in their world, but you take them out of their world, they just can't transfer skills. And having no time to yourself, because in the house, I mean, we lived in a £20 million house, but we might as well just be living in bunk beds, really, because you're so tired when you come home, literally have a shower and go to bed. But you have no personal space. You share bedrooms. Bathrooms are always busy. The only time you by yourself is on the toilet, and you have a chaperone who waits for you on the other side of the door. So, as somebody who's quite extroverted like myself, but I like to have balance, I need to have a little bit of quiet time. I found that quite difficult, that you literally get no time to yourself, really, apart from on the toilet or when you're asleep.
Yeah, that does sound tough. And in the boardroom, what was that like? Was it a lot of hours?
I don't think anything can prepare you for the boardroom. It's a very surreal experience, and I started on the first day because it was what 5 o'clock in the morning, and then that night back after the task, getting the results, and it was straight into it. It's a bit surreal. It's like stepping inside a TV because you've got Alan Sugar, and we had Margaret Mountford and Nick Hewer, sorry. The boardroom, what people, when you're in the process, you don't want to be in the boardroom because obviously you don't want to lose. But when it comes on TV, that's half of the TV show. And I found it a bit strange that when it came on TV, people were like, you're always in the episode. But I'm like, that's because you brought me back into the boardroom. And actually, again, you need people who are going to speak up in The Apprentice, because if they don't speak up, you haven't got a TV show. So I thrived in the boardroom. I'm quite happy with conflicts. But then once we walked out of that boardroom and we were going home, for me, that was the boardroom, and going home, we'd be like, right, what we're going to have for dinner tonight? Or, I need to go and get a shower. Whereas some people didn't have that ability to switch off. They sort of festered over the smallest things.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when people win all the time and they don't go to the boardroom, they don't really get any sort of relationship with Alan, do they?
No,
So
you
Lord
need,
Sugar.
I spent a lot of time. I think I did maybe 5 boardrooms. I mean, he called me a Rottweiler. He said she's clinging on to the ankles and she's not letting go. And that in business, you need that tenacious approach, because I remember one boardroom, I thought he's going to fire me. And I sort of gave my pitch and said, in business, when it's good, it's easy. But when it's hard, you want people like me, like no matter how bad my day's been, I will come back the next day and go again. And I think he likes, that's what being an entrepreneur is about, having that tenacious, resilience approach to carry on, to keep on going. And he does get to know you in the boardrooms because you're in there for a long time.
Yeah, and in the third task, it was pub cuisine, and you went for Indian food. It's amazing all the different things you have to do in The Apprentice, isn't it? All the different
Yeah, it's
tasks.
great. I mean, the diversity of the challenges. I mean, when you watch it as a viewer, I kept thinking, am I good enough to go on this? Would I get picked? is it as hard as it looked? And where in life would you have the opportunity to do all these things and really push yourself and see if you are capable of doing it? It's very easy from the comfort of your sofa, but it is a million times harder actually doing it.
Yeah, as a viewer myself, I love the show, and I'm always thinking, I could do it so much better. But when you actually do it, I imagine it's a lot tougher than it looks.
Yeah, it is hard. It is hard, definitely.
And in the fourth task, you headed over to Blue Water to run a pop-up photography business. You went for glamour and beauty, and it's fair to say it didn't go too well on that task.
Yeah, we lost that task, and that was the boardroom where he said, "You know what I'm going to do with you?" And I thought he was going to fire me. It was like, "Get out of my sight, get back to that house." Well, one of the production came after me and said, "We think he's had a bad day at work. Are you okay?" Because that was full on. But he said, "You are talented, Claire, but you have got to learn to shut up." Now, a lot of people on The Apprentice, even though it's called The Apprentice, think they're perfect. And the fact was, I'd worked in business, but I'd never run my own business. And I had one of the country's most successful entrepreneurs saying, "You're good, but you need to shut up and start listening." I think we finished filming at, I don't know, midnight. And then we went again at 5 in the morning. So you filming back to back on very little sleep. And I was made project manager. We did ice cream for the next task and we won.
And what was the flavor of the ice cream? Do you remember?
We did alcoholic, like pina colada, mojito, cosmopolitan. I remember it all those years ago. Yeah. And
Nice.
that was a great boardroom. And I think from that point on, I sort of just really got my pace. If I was a racehorse, I was like heading towards the final line.
Yeah, and I think Lord Sugar said you changed through the process. Do you think you changed, or was that, did you really change? Or
Absolutely. Yeah, I did change because I think I'd always been in situations where I describe it as a pouncer. So if I got a task to do, I would sort of pounce. I'd always want to be in control. I do find it easier project managing and leading. And then once I sort of had confidence in the people around me that it sounds awful that they were capable, I was really happy to sort of step back and work as part of a team. I found it difficult early on because I didn't have confidence in some of them to lead us, and quite rightly so, we'd lose and then end up in the boardroom because I'd be saying, well, actually, we shouldn't have done it that way because. But they loved it because if again, they'd be like, here she comes, because you need somebody to speak and say how it is, because if not, you haven't got any TV show.
oh yeah, exactly. I mean, I do find in sort of the earlier series of The Apprentice there was more characters as well. I do think that.
I think people have become. I think there's two reasons. I think it's become quite contrived. People know every year there's going to be a treasure hunt task, there's going to be an overseas task, there's going to be a QVC task. So they know to an element, what you're doing. But I think overall, the sort of like next generation, I grew up with a little bit of social media, but not a huge amount, was they are so image conscious that they really, I don't think you see a lot of authentic people because they are so aware of an image and what they've got to portray in social media and be popular and be liked. Whereas when we were on it, people just like what you saw is what you got. And
Yeah.
people who apply for The Apprentice, I always say, just be yourself. Yes, maybe at the early on stages, you can pretend to be somebody and put on a bit of a facade. But as the tiredness kicks in and you're missing home, it is exhausting being there. The real you will appear. And that's what happens. You always see people starting to change as the process goes along.
Yeah, and in the sixth task, you made a new range of greeting cards. Both ideas from each team were a bit mad, an alternative to Valentine's Day for singles and an environmental card. What are your
I mean,
memories of this one?
what an absolutely rubbish idea doing an environmental card, which is completely contradictory to
Yeah.
being environmental. I remember Jenny was the project manager. I would have done, I'm a massive animal lover. We've got dogs, cat, we've got loads of animals. I would have done a range of animals for, a range of cards for pet owners. Because there's a lot of people I've just seen with Mother's Day, cat mum, dog mum. Or the other idea I had was people who've been in the services, good luck, we're proud of you, coming home. You could have done some amazing creative on those cards, but You can't sort of railroad every task. Yeah, that was a dreadful task. It was
And
dreadful.
I think the pitch for the environmental card
Oh,
was terrible as well because it was just making people feel sorry for the
I know.
planet, wasn't it? And like,
Yeah, we were pitching to retail buyers, and that was my job. I was a retail buyer for Superdrug. So that was my day job. I did it day in, day out. I'd worked in sales before as an account manager, pitching. I knew what retail buyers were looking for, but the project manager, Kevin, was absolutely adamant that he was doing it, and he was rubbish.
yeah,
It was
to say the
rubbish.
least.
And Alan Sugar said, "You should let Claire do it. You've got to think in business with your brain and not your ego." And I remember Alan Sugar saying that to me. And actually, as I've left The Apprentice and sort of moved through sort of growing up in business, he's completely right that so many people think with their egos, not the brain.
And in the seventh task, you went to Marrakesh. This was one of my favorites of the series to try and obtain a list of 10 items. Was it fun going abroad for the task?
It looks really exciting on camera, but again, it's really tiring because I think we landed at 8 o'clock at night. We did the task all day the next day from like 6 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. We flew back the next morning, went straight to the boardroom.
So you don't get
So
much downtime.
you get no downtime whatsoever. So it was good. It was chaotic. It was a true treasure hunt because obviously none of us knew Marrakesh. In the souks, it was a crazy place. We landed back in the UK, went straight into the boardroom. Everybody was exhausted, and there was a double firing. I remember the double firing.
I think at the end of the episode, you got this clock, didn't you?
The green mosque alarm clock. I've still got it.
Oh, have you?
Yeah,
Wow.
I've
After
still
all these
got it.
years.
I've still got my memory box of Apprentice things. Yeah, my green mosque alarm clock. So it was so specific, the items
Mm.
that where they tell you the things you've got to get. And if you don't get the right item, you get a penalty. So, oh, do you know what? I'm smiling because I'm thinking about it, and it was just funny. It's carnage. Flying through Marrakesh. They're like, who are these crazy British people with cameras? So everywhere you go, you're just getting followed. I remember at one point there was like a man with a donkey and somebody with a snake, and it was chaos. Good though, but I remember it was very hot, and the crew work on alternate episodes, so they will do episode one, then have a rest, episode three, because carrying the kit is so heavy. And I remember in Marrakesh we had to stop like every 20 minutes because it was so hot for them to like get a drink, and it was boiling.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was your team or the other team, but there was a huge error about buying a chicken and then having it blessed. Do you remember
Yeah.
this?
I remember it because Alan Sugar's Jewish, and Michael Sophocles in our team said it to all of us that he was Jewish. So in this task, it was kosher chicken. He straight away said, "I'll get it, I'll get it," and I was like, "Great. Well, you're Jewish, so you know what you're looking for." So we went to the meat market, and I remember in the live chicken, I don't think they showed it on TV. A live chicken got thrown into a machine and chopped up for us. And as it was getting chopped up, he was blessing it to Allah. And I said on camera, I know we're in a Muslim country, so maybe Judaism is different here. But as far as I've got Jewish friends and I've been to the synagogue, Allah definitely is not in Judaism. But I'm not Jewish, so maybe I'm wrong. And then when we got it back to the boardroom, and Michael then changed that he was maybe Jewish, and Alan Sugar, very funnily enough, said, "Why don't we pull your pants down and see?" Which I burst out laughing. Honestly, he bought the wrong kosher chicken.
It's one of my top 10 funniest moments,
Oh,
actually.
it was
That
so
was
funny.
hilarious. Yeah.
And things like that don't happen anymore because I don't know. I don't know why people don't make those mistakes, but it was. Another team, one of the other team tried to sabotage us as well, and oh god, it was chaotic. But people all the time still talk to me about the kosher chicken task.
Yeah, it's very memorable. I mean, you say people don't make those mistakes, but I was watching this series, the current one, and I couldn't believe it. On the first task, it was to get the 10 items, and each team only got like one item each. And I was
It was
like, what?
dreadful.
It was
And
awful.
actually, I thought first episode, because they went to Hong Kong, didn't they? I was surprised they went to Hong Kong because that's a lot of expense to fly all those people to Hong Kong. It's a long way to travel. That's hard work with how many people? 20 people. And actually, I thought it was a little bit boring because as a viewer, we want to see them. We want to see them getting some of the items. And the fact they were so late, I think they were 2 hours late. You know, it was drilled into us constantly. Like, if you're 5 minutes late, you're out of the. So at 2 hours late, I just thought you might as well just all go home. You're rubbish.
But
One
recently
item and
they
two
re
hours late
that's
was
terrible.
bad.
Recently they
Yeah.
redid it though, and they did a lot better. What you would expect, but yeah, the first episode it wasn't that spectacular.
Mm.
But in the eighth task, you were selling wedding dresses and
Oh,
accessories
it was
at the
amazing.
National
Yeah.
Exhibition Centre. Weddings are big business, aren't they?
Yeah, and when we went up to the NEC, one of the managers for the NEC came to the stand and said to me, "Have you done this before?" Because I just threw myself into every task. I was like, "No, I've never sold wedding dresses before, but I'm a believer. If you are passionate about what you're selling, people buy from people." And we had the most amazing wedding dresses by a designer called Ian Stewart. We went for high-end dresses. I can't remember how many we sold, five. And we literally smashed that task. So our high-end item was the dresses for, I don't know, 5 grand. And the accessory was personalised wedding knickers, which were really popular to have your name on. It was such a good task. It was brilliant. We loved it. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, that did look like a lot of fun actually, that one.
Yeah, loved it. And actually, Rafe, who was on the show, who's like the poshest person I've ever met, he had never really been out of London in this country. And in Birmingham, he had no idea what people were saying. He literally could not understand what people were saying. He'd been to like the Bahamas or Barbados and London. So we put him in a teddy bear suit and just got him to like walk around because he couldn't really do very much on that task. But no, it was a really good it was a good sales task. Anything we're selling, I was always really happy to do.
Great. And in the ninth task, you had to design your own tissues with an advertising campaign, and you also had to
Mm.
pitch to industry experts. What was that like?
As tasks go, I think that was quite boring because it's not very sexy, is it? Branding a box of tissues,
No.
and we were as a creative task as well. Again, I sound like a broken record. We were so tired because I think we finished filming at like I don't know 10 or 11 that night before. Up again the next morning. Our project manager was Michael, who the Jewish candidate. Alan Sugar was like, right, I'm going to make you a project manager. He was so tired he couldn't even think. And it was just, we had Sean Jenkins who read the weather at that point. She came to do the video. Rafe and Michael got really carried away. They're very thespian, almost being quite Shakespeare like. And when I actually watched the video, I said, there's no tissues in it. You need some product placement. Alan Sugar is going to be saying, where's the bloody tissues? Because that's what. And then when we're in the boardroom, he was like, where's the bloody tissues? So, yeah. And I think from memory, Rafe got fired.
And it's one of them examples on The Apprentice where one team does one thing and the other team does the other, because the other team's advert was terrible as well, and it was always talking about antibacterial tissues, but you needed that and you had to see the image of what they were, whereas
Yeah.
your team didn't have any of that. But it's quite interesting how teams sometimes go in totally different, opposite directions.
Yeah, we should have, looking back on it, it's very easy with The Apprentice to think hindsight.
And so,
We
yeah.
should have gone for families, children, and done like a superhero, like Mr. Anti Back to the Rescue or something like that for kids. Again, I wasn't project manager, and we were all really, really tired. I felt sorry for production on that task because we were all shattered.
I did actually prefer your advert, though. I know it wasn't right, and I understand why you lost because it wasn't in there. But at least there was a little bit of a story. They went too far, though, like you say.
Yeah, totally. I can't remember. Was it a car task afterwards?
Yeah, we were going to speak about that. You're selling high-end cars, renting them out. What was that? Do you remember that one?
Yeah, so it was my birthday that morning, and I don't know what made me say it. I said, I don't mind what we're doing today, as long as we're not selling cars. What are the chances? And we got taken to a scrap metal yard, and because they put you in random places before they set you the task. I thought, oh, what is this? And then we had the massive engines roaring, and this fleet of amazing supercars came in, and they said, you will be selling cars. So we decided as a team to pick the super rare ones. Like I still remember them, Spiker, Zonda, because we knew that we were going to be selling in the city of London. And after living in London and being in the city, a lot of people have Ferraris, Aston Martins. They're sort of like a Ford Focus to a lot of the city boys and girls. So we went for the sort of very niche cars where you can't buy them. We lost that task, but from memory, I was the top salesperson, so I was safe. And I can't remember who got fired on that. It might have been Michael.
Yeah, Michael did, because yeah,
No,
that
love
that was
Michael.
that was quite funny. He had a Ferrari to rent, I think, and he was getting a bit desperate because he followed this guy up the road, and it didn't look like he was going to leave him. It was quite funny, yeah.
We was like relentless on. I would say every single day when we filmed, we all laughed about something, and production would be laughing, and then we'd all like remember we were on a TV show. And you get so immersed in the task, you almost forgot you were filming a show. Honestly, because you were just so in the zone doing it. Then it was interviews.
Yeah, the interviews, I was going to ask about that. What was that like? I mean, is it as brutal? Is it as crazy as it looks on TV?
I don't think I featured very much on the interview episode because by that point, I felt like I'd literally given my heart, body, and soul to this experience. And I was a bit like, if you don't like me, I literally cannot do anything more. And I had really good interviews. So it's funny how sort of like things work out. But I'd been reading a magazine article about Karen Brady. And when I walked into one of the interview rooms, that was her first year involved with the show. So we had no idea. And I knew everything about her. Like she was a business role model to me. I knew all about Birmingham City. And she, after the interview stage, said, you know, Alan, if you don't hire her, I will. And she did offer me a job. She was true to her word. So I actually really enjoyed the interview day. But what people sort of don't forget is that if you lie on your application form, it's probably going to get called out on national TV like Lee McQueen was. You can't lie about things because they will check in the final five. They interviewed my friends, family, and spoke to my previous employment places to make sure what I said was true.
Yeah,
So if
they're really
anyone's
thorough,
watching
aren't they?
this, yeah, and applying to go on The Apprentice, don't lie. She'll get found out.
It may get you on the show, but then eventually, if you get far enough, yeah, you'll get found out.
Oh. And when Lee went on to win the show, his headline, I remember, wasn't "You're hired." It was like "You're lied" because he'd lied about having a HND.
And in the final, you had to design a new male fragrance. What are your memories of this one?
Oh, well, my since leaving university, I'd worked in the FMCG sector, which is fast moving consumer goods, and I'd worked specifically in health and beauty. So I had 8 years experience of beauty, branding, and production said they set those tasks before the candidates were even known. And they didn't say dumb yourself down, but they were like, can you sort of just not be like as good as what you are because it looks a bit obvious and it's really hard to sort of pretend to be something you're not. So Lee and I, we got put together, we worked as a team because for the first time, Alan couldn't decide between in the final between four of us. So he put us into pairs. So Lee McQueen and I went on to win the final, and then out of that, Lee went on to win the show.
I might be wrong, but I think that's the only time they did that. It
Yeah.
seems like it.
And behind the scenes, I'm doing like this. I've got a little dog down here looking at me. Behind the scenes, he took us out for dinner, the final five. We had a night out in London with him, and he's never done that before, never done it since.
Nice. And
We had a really good time with him. No cameras.
do you remember the treats? Because they used to do them back then. What was your
Yeah.
favorite?
So our filming schedule was well, we didn't know this. I wrote it down, so I worked it out. We had Monday, Tuesday filming, so they were like 20-hour days. Wednesday was boardroom, and the boardroom you see is like 30 minutes. In reality, it can take like 4 to 6 hours by the time you've done all the filming. So if you won on a Wednesday, your treat was out of London on a Thursday. So we went on a helicopter, for example, to Bowood House in Wiltshire, which was amazing. Then we did work Friday, Saturday, Sunday morning boardroom, Sunday afternoon London treat. So we did a spa day in London. They've stopped doing them now. I don't know whether it's cost or whether people have said that actually when you're on a treat, it's not really a treat because you're still filming. The real treat, if you're on a losing team like I was, you had that afternoon to yourself. Or when everybody, you just go to the park or with somebody, but you had a little bit of downtime. So that was actually really nice.
As a viewer, though, I did think it was better when they had the treats in terms of what you would see the winning team would get up to afterwards.
Yeah, and it was fun as well. We had some really good treats, really good. The first treat was Jean-Christophe Novelli, famous celebrity chef, came in and made us dinner. We had a dinner party. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah, and very, very different as well, things that you wouldn't do every day.
Exactly. The whole point of going on The Apprentice is for those, you know, well, it's once in a lifetime experience. I always find it nice talking to other people who have been through The Apprentice because we're almost like an apprentice alumni. We
And of
know
course,
we know what it's been like.
yeah, and of course, she did very well to reach the final, but it must have been hard at the time, to finish runner-up. How hard was it,
Mm,
or
I think
not?
there's two sides of a coin because I think as a competitive person, and I do feel that I probably earned it more than Lee in the respect that I did so many boardrooms. Lee didn't go into a single boardroom ever. I felt like I'd really earned it. But for me, I came out of The Apprentice. I know it sounds really cheesy, but often it's not the winning, it's the opportunity. And I had so many opportunities open to me. I mean, being in the public eye, learning all about public relations, working with the government on so many campaigns I've done with them around young people, women in business, starting my business. I actually I like being in control, so I think it was the right thing for me that I was in control of my destiny, so to speak. But I think as a competitive person, you do want to win. But coming second, there were still loads of opportunities open for me, so it didn't sort of like feel that bad. And
Oh,
I think
good.
Alan Sugar did say, I'm not worried about Claire. She's going to be fine. And she's always got my help. And true to this, day, I'm still in contact with his office. And yeah, so that's good. Yeah,
That's
I think
nice. Yeah, that's good to
it
hear.
worked out. It worked out the best thing for. Sounds really naff, but we were all really happy for each other. Like Lee was happy for me, and I was happy for him.
And
It
it's
was
nice to
just,
hear that about Lord
yeah,
Sugar because you see it on the TV show, but obviously you don't know if that's true, genuine. But as we've heard it from many people, it must be.
yeah, yeah. It's just it's such a once in a lifetime experience that I feel very lucky that I did it with people who were still friends. So when we had our 10-year reunion, which we organised, I saw those people and we all went out for dinner in London. And it was interesting, funny because we all sort of fell into the same roles as what we normally are. Um, yeah, we all genuinely, not all of us, but like a core of maybe 10, 12 of us enjoy each other's company.
Nice. And we've got 5 minutes to go. Tell us what you do in the business world today.
So when I left The Apprentice, Alan had said to me, don't make any decisions or take any job offers for the next sort of 3 to 6 months and just see what comes through." And I was asked by a lot of schools to go visit them. I'd not been back into my school since I left school. And I remember the first school I went to in Blackpool called Unity College. I went in to speak to a group of girls about my career pathway and what I'd do. It sort of blew their brains that a young woman could work and sort of be in the business world. And I sort of started doing more and more speaking in schools and then spotted a gap in the market to put speakers into schools and colleges and universities. And from working with Alan, I'd learned to keep it simple. So I called it School Speakers. And nearly 20 years down the line, it's an award-winning business and we work with schools all over the world.
Hmm.
So that's what we do. Got 600 speakers.
Wow.
Yeah.
So obviously that was a gap in the market, like you say. They didn't have those facilities.
So schools were using speakers, but there wasn't anywhere which had them like under one umbrella. So you had to find them through friends or contacts or LinkedIn or searching. Whereas there were lots of people putting speakers into the corporate market for loads of events, but nobody. I think if I'm being honest, couldn't be bothered with schools. there's almost a bit of a fear sometimes for schools because it is different working in education versus corporates and sort of blue chip businesses. But I love going to work. I love what I do for a living. And I know that the impact my speakers have on the audience, like literally, like is changing their lives.
That's great to hear. And do you regret anything you did on the show all these years
I,
later?
no. People ask me about it. No, not at all. And the edit, and people often say, about the edit. And for me, it was absolutely fair. I thought, and I think for all of us, if people are edited to look stupid, I'm like, they can only make you look stupid if you are stupid and you do stupid things. I was, I mean, they do say for every episode they have about 600 hours of footage because
It's a
people
lot to
forget there's
edit down.
teams
Yeah.
following you. But I wouldn't change a single thing. I'd love to go back and do it all again.
That's great to hear that. I mean, as a viewer, I'd love to do it, just like you say, for the experience, not necessarily thinking about winning it. But yeah, it does seem amazing.
When I came out, I went back to my house. My next door neighbour in London, I told very few people, but she looked after my property. And when I saw her, I burst into tears and said, I just don't really know what I've just been through. I've honestly felt like somebody had like pulled my head open, got my brain, pulled it apart, and then shoved me back out. And it made me really think actually what we achieved in filming in 5 weeks, the whole series in 5 weeks, that actually you can achieve an awful lot in life if you really sort of focus on it and get on with it.
Well, thanks a lot for joining us on the podcast, Claire. It's been lovely to speak to you.
Oh, thank you ever so much. And yeah, pleasure. Thank you.